Hello, everyone, once again, and welcome back to a second live stream for today. News summary from Moscow program, and there are many thanks for your time and attention, dear friends. Let's summarize the day. It's 5 past 10 in the evening here in Moscow. There another news update for you. I don't know. I just don't know what the hell is going on. Am I online? Wow, I am back. Sorry, dear friends. This is second time in a row this technical issue is happening, and I guess I need new notebook that will be able to work better because this one is just isn't up to task. So my apologies, dear friends. But if I may, I will continue with the news update. So it's a second live stream today, as you know, and in case you want to see, yes, I can see, dear friends, your comments. I'm online now. Uh, so my apologies for this technical issue. it's just equipment. It is what it is. Maybe one day I'll be in a position to buy something better. But right now, I just have what I have, and you know. So okay, let's start the live stream from the beginning. So once again, thank you all dear friends for joining this stream. I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments. Hopefully, you will find it informative and interesting. In case you have a question or comment, please use it, capital letters in the chat, or use super chat feature on Rumble or round feature on Rumble. I would not miss it for sure. And also, you can send a question, of course, through PayPal or Boosty if you want to same time donate to this project. Links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. And in case you have not watched today's first live stream, which was a second news update, I have a new schedule, and basically first updates this week will be on Patreon and Boosty. Then at 3 p.m. I will have a live stream with the second news update, and at 10 p.m. At evening I will have or 2200 hours I will have a second live stream with the third news update. And now you are watching third news update for the day. Let's see if this format, if this schedule will do better to somewhat develop this project a little faster if it's possible. Anyways, too much for intro. Let's go through some news, and well, let's start with this report, dear friends, that just about 20 minutes before I launched this stream, there was reports about explosions over the Donetsk city. Two explosions were heard. Probably air defense systems are working, which means that it is highly likely that Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky launched either drones or missiles to strike Donetsk city. Probably for tomorrow morning, some additional information will be available. And of course, I will share this additional information with you in tomorrow's updates. Also, we have this report from RT, and all the other media outlets here in Russia basically paid attention to this information that Kiev regime, this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, by the way, employed their Islamic State terrorist organizations, their agent, to plot assassination in Russia, in Moscow. So Ukrainian intelligence services collaborated with the international terrorist group Islamic State, also known as ICE or ISIS, in a plot to assassinate senior Russian military official. Russian Federal Security Service, or FSB, reported today about it. According to agency, their operation was masterminded by Uzbek national Zaidakbar Gulimov, described as an ISIS member, who is also suspected of orchestrating the December 2024 killing of Russian General Igor Kirillov and his assistant, crimes that Moscow attributed to Kiev. The FSB alleged that Gulomov recruited their Central Asian national influenced by Islamist propaganda, and instructed him to travel to Russia. The suspect, now in custody, reportedly collected their components for an improvised explosive device that were delivered from Ukraine by drone, later building a bomb and concealing it inside the bicycle. Another accomplice, a Russian citizen, allegedly parked their explosive device at their intended attack site in Moscow. That suspect allegedly previously worked on illegal communication services used by both criminal networks and Ukrainian intelligence. The agency stated 2 additional Russian nationals connected to that operation was also detained. And this is, of course, not the first instance when this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky is engaged in cooperation with their ISIS terrorist group and other terrorist groups. There is a lot of evidences on that, which once again indicates, by the way, what kind of elements Kiev regime representatives are, and what kind of elements are Western so-called elites that are in active support of these terrorist groups. And what happened is basically that Russian security services detained a number of these criminals, and this bicycle, which was mined, by the way, was demined basically with a robotic mechanism, right? So FSB managed to avoid yet another terrorist attack on high-ranking Russian military official. Information is, of course, relevant. I don't think any Western media outlet reported about this terrorist plot of Zelensky's regime and its NATO backers. Obviously, information, I'm quite sure information about this high-ranking Russian military officer most likely was provided to the regime by London. I have no doubts about it, by the way, that London is 100% involved in this terrorist plot. Maybe FSB will share some additional information in upcoming days, but once again, this is not the first time, and I'm afraid not the last time when NATO countries and their proxy regime is engaged in a terrorist activity while cooperating with other terrorist groups, including with ISIS. Meanwhile, Trump continues to make headlines, dear friends. RIA Novosti is reporting that during his visit in Israel today, he made a statement that, well, after resolving, according to him, Gaza conflict, he will be focused on Ukrainian crisis. U.S. President Donald Trump announced his intention to address the Ukrainian crisis after the Gaza conflict is resolved. We need to finish with Russia first. We need to resolve this issue. If you don't mind, Steve, he was addressing Steve Witkoff, I guess. Let's focus on Russia, he said during a speech in the Israeli Knesset, which is Israeli parliament. And of course, nothing good to be expected, by the way, when Trump is saying that let's be focused on Russia. We all understand what to be expected. More long-range strikes on Russian territory, deliveries of more weapon systems, long-range weapon systems included, to Ukrainian terrorists and foreign mercenaries and so on. So nothing new really here. Well, hopefully we are ready. Hopefully we are ready for whatever is being prepared by Washington, London, and other NATO capitals to hit us. Hopefully we are ready, and hopefully we will retaliate with the force and the scale that will finally put Western elites into their places. I mean, let's hope so, because this constant restraint that Moscow is demonstrating clearly is inviting more trouble upon us. That's my understanding of the situation anyways, right? And I guess while Washington and London, with assistance of, with participation of other NATO capitals, Berlin and Paris, first of all, Brussels, because there is too many headquarters in Brussels, isn't it? While these capitals are plotting next phase of escalation against Russia, of course, they're going to inform on certain level their proxy regime in Kiev, and therefore reports are coming in that this Friday, which is going to be 17th of October, Zelensky with his affiliates will travel to Washington, or he will have a meeting with Trump on Friday. They may go tomorrow, who knows, right? So after two phone conversations in last several days, Zelensky is going to have a face-to-face meeting with Trump. Probably he will receive instructions. He will receive instructions, what to order, when, how, timing, and everything, basically. He will receive details of his steps, right, from his American bosses. I guess that's the reason why on 17th of October he'll be in Washington. Also, by the way, when it comes to Western escalation against Russia, today we heard something quite not necessarily interesting, but a little bit different from Secretary General of Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, who said that China will force Russia to attack NATO, which is I mean, somewhat next level of madness on part of not just Reuters, but I guess Western so-called elites, because I don't think he come up with this kind of statement on his own. Probably this is a new false narrative that Western elites, through their controlled so-called media, gonna push now. That well, China is dictating Moscow what to do, when and how, and China will tell Moscow, you know what, go and attack this NATO state today and that NATO state tomorrow. This is insane, obviously, but unfortunately, due to influence of Western propaganda means, I guess majority of people in the West will still believe in this crap, right? Let me give you some short video, dear friends, of this report. The statement of Reuters. I believe I have it. Yes, that's their statement.
Likely that China will force the junior partner in that relationship, being Russia, under the leadership of Vladimirovich Putin, to move against NATO here, to keep us busy. For all these reasons, we have to make sure that we work as strongly together with them. And then on the hybrid threats, this is, of course, a big worry, and we are working on it.
So you see, he's saying directly there that, well, China is dictating kind of to Moscow what to do, when, how, and this is crazy. I don't think we really have to discuss this topic seriously. Rute is clearly an idiot writer, and it is the case with all the Western so-called elites, by the way. I mean, it's a madness. It's a madness. I feel sorry for citizens of the Western countries, by the way. I mean, they are forced basically to take everything that comes from these morons, right? But this level of craziness would not be possible, I think, without these so-called elites in the West being absolutely sure that public in the West not gonna say nothing, no matter how crazy their statements are, how crazy their narratives are. Public will say nothing. Otherwise, they would be a little more careful, right? Otherwise, they will be a little more careful. And this is sad. This is sad because, as I said many times before, only way Russia and the rest of the world actually can have a decent, normal relationships with the Western countries is if Western societies will manage to reclaim their own countries, reform the systems, and put some decent people in a position of elites, in a position of leaders, right? And if vast majority in the Western countries are so brainwashed that Western elites are not even thinking about potential opposition from society, no matter what craziness they're gonna say, then that probably means that even they think, Western elites, that these people in the West, majority, just cannot wake up in general, right? They've been completely brainwashed, completely. Sad, man. Sad. What can I say? Statement itself is, of course, total nonsense, man. No one here in Russia is dreaming about attacking anybody, and definitely not the NATO. But well, if it comes to retaliatory measures, then at some point, I guess, well, Russian leadership will say these restraint policies are not really working, and let's try something else, right, to deter these psychopaths that are in charge of the West. That's, I guess, quite a possible scenario. Also, dear friends, when it comes to this fear mongering in the West and the terror of the Western public by their own elites, well, German intelligence come up with their statement that and the warning of the risk of hot conflict with Russia. So German Foreign Intelligence Director Martin Jager believes that current standoff with Russia could escalate into a direct conflict as Moscow actively tests Europe's borders. For God's sake, it's NATO countries that are directly engaged in strikes on Russian Federation, right? it's a NATO countries that are directly engaged on the strikes. By the way, all these long-range strikes with the drones or missiles are conducted with their with direct involvement of NATO states, right? And nevertheless, this psychopath Martin Jagger, or whatever his freaking name is saying that it's Russia that is actively testing European borders. What the hell, man? And he is not being challenged, by the way. That's the issue that I clearly see. That no matter what kind of crazy statements this so-called elite's gonna say or come up with, no one is questioning them, right? So the head of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, so-called BND, this is a prostitutes of CIA, by the way. That's what BND is, prostitutes of CIA, right? We can call them prostitutes. That will be exact definition what BND is. They are anything but intelligence service that is working for security of the German people. BND is CIA prostitutes, right? So this Martin Jagger warned of the risk that their confrontation with Russia could escalate into an open military conflict at any moment. Bloomberg reports, according to Jagger, Russian President Vladimir Putin is seeking to test Europe's borders, and Moscow's actions are aimed at undermining NATO, destabilizing democracies. They call themselves still democracies, by the way. What insanity, though. And they're dividing societies, and they're intimidating citizens. Can you imagine this, dear friends? Why these people have not been challenged? If anybody is intimidating and terrifying citizens in the West, is their own elites, right? That are telling them that, well, Russians are coming. Russians are coming. Russians are on the borders. They're going to bomb us today, tomorrow, day after. Soon, I don't know, people probably will tell some scary stories to kids before sleep so that kids will go sleep, right? They will scare kids with Russians. Well, Russians are coming. And this criminal, Jagger, is saying that Russia is intimidating someone somewhere in the West. Pure insanity. But yet again, unfortunately, these psychopaths not being challenged and would not be challenged, right, anytime soon or ever. But yes, this process of terrorizing the Western societies continues because if Western elites know anything, they know how to manipulate with the public opinions, right? How to manipulate with the public. And one of the easiest way to manipulate with the public is to terrify the people, scare the people, right? Divide the people, because it's an easy way then. When people are terrified, you tell them, you know what, I give you security. And so, and you shut up. I'll take care of everything, right? You just stay quiet. And that's exactly what is happening, by the way. Western societies are staying quiet, with the exception of a tiny minority, tiny informed minority that understands that this is not normal what is happening. But unfortunately, their influence is very limited, right? And they cannot do much, really. So that's the situation, right? I just have one question. Why Western elites still think that they have to continue constantly terrorizing their own citizens, scaring the hell out of them day in, day out? I mean, they already scared everybody, right? That could be scared with this nonsense. So why they cannot stop, and act a little more adequate now? They've done it, right? They terrified everybody who they could, right? But they cannot stop. They continue on daily basis. Russians are coming. Russians are coming. No, we are not, for God's sake. We are not coming nowhere, right? And if not provoked, we would live happily without even noticing existence of NATO, right? If not provoked, we will live absolutely happily with the cooperation with the rest of the world without noticing even existence of the collective West. That's how it is, but they are not allowing us to live in peace, right? RT is also reporting that, well, NATO, by the way, launches nuclear drills. So NATO kicked off an annual nuclear exercises in the Netherlands on Monday The bloc's Secretary General Mark Rutte stated that the drills are necessary to send a clear signal to any potential adversary. The 2 week steadfaster noon exercise comes aimed what Moscow has described as a rampant anti-Russian hysteria among their Western European elites, accusing NATO of militarizing their continent, and they're preparing for a direct confrontation. Announcing the drills on Friday, Rutte said they help ensure that NATO's nuclear deterrent remains as effective as possible. This year, Steadfast Noon is being hosted by the Netherlands, with their Wolkel Air Base serving as the main operation site. Supporting elements will be stationed at the bases in Belgium, UK, and Denmark. According to NATO, the exercise will involve around 70 aircraft from 14 member states, including both conventional and dual-capable aircraft. About 2,000 personnel are taking part, supported by surveillance, air-to-air refueling, and command and control aircraft. NATO has emphasized that no nuclear weapons will be used during the exercises. Okay, by the way, Russian side is monitoring, of course, this development, and I guess all the necessary steps will be taken to ensure Russian security, right, as much as possible. Meanwhile, Lukashenko, by the way, president of Belarus, come up with quite interesting statement, I will say, because he went to state that Ukraine could cease to exist, right? And he's correct. He is absolutely correct. Ukraine could cease to exist as a state if there is no diplomatic settlement to the conflict with Russia and Moscow's forces continue to advance. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has warned, and he is correct. He is absolutely correct. Russia is moving forward on the front line, and this could result in a disappearance of Ukraine as a state. This is a quote from his statement. He also claimed that Ukraine's crazed neighbors to the west already see themselves in Western Ukraine and are ready to snatch a part of Ukraine without naming specific countries. Well, this is also true, by the way. This is also true. He's talking about Poland, first of all, of course. Some 70% of Western Ukraine used to be part of Poland before Second World War. And of course, you know my take, by the way. Veterans of our community know my take on Ukrainian crisis. I was saying from the beginning that once this conflict will end, either there will be no Ukraine on the political map because this former Soviet republic will undergo full-scale disintegration and the western parts will be reclaimed by Poland, Hungary, and Slovakia, right? Poland, Hungary, and Romania. Maybe Slovakia will have some say too, some claims, even Bulgaria, by the way, right? And the rest of the territory will be directly or indirectly controlled by Russian Federation. Most likely, most of the regions will hold the referendums and join Russian Federation, right? And I was always leaving some tiny chance, 1-2% chance that maybe Kiev and surrounding couple of regions will maintain quasi-statehood on the political map, but only in an exclusive zone of Russian influence, while being completely free from the West, right? That's my take how this whole situation going to resolve, and Lukashenko seems like to be somewhat on the same page because he not just said that Ukraine will cease to exist if processes continue, but he also said that, well, there are a number of countries in the west of Ukraine that are dreaming about occupying Western Ukraine, which is true. It's a true statement. I'm 100% convinced that this is exactly the case. Question is, would anybody on Kiev controlled territory listen to any warnings whatsoever from either Belarus or Russia? No, they would not. They would not, right? Meanwhile, dear friends, also interesting reports from China this time about Russian military-industrial complex, Russian military capabilities, and recently Russian president mentioned during one of his statements that Russia has not just weapon systems that already are known, for example, Oreshnik or something else, but there are some new types of weapon systems also that is being worked on, right? And the Chinese, many media outlets worldwide went to speculate what Putin meant, what he was not talking about there. And one of the Chinese media outlet focused on the Burevestnik missile system, and there's Vzгляд newspaper is reporting about it. So let me share with you some details on that. Russia's advanced nuclear-powered cruise missile, the Burevestnik, is capable of penetrating any missile defense systems, raising concerns in the United States and the NATO. The Chinese publication Sohu, I guess it pronounced differently, but that's how I read it, Sohu, assessed the impact of a new weapon recently discussed by the Russian President Vladimir Putin. I don't think he went into specifics. He did not spoke about names of the weapon systems, but nevertheless, the authors of their article believe the development could alter the global strategic balance. The author of their article speculated that this refers to Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile. It has a long range and is capable of avoiding any missile defense systems, and its high speed leaves no time for their enemy to react. Burevestnik will certainly upset the existing strategic balance and become a serious deterrent for the United States and the NATO, according to Chinese publication. And well, I have reported previously a couple of times about Burevestnik, about Russian weapon systems that are discussed in the public. Very little is known, obviously, because this is classified information. And even name Burevestnik is, I guess, speculation, right? In reality, this weapon system probably has some, numbers as a name, right? But yes, there are reports about active work in Russian Federation on a cruise missile that will basically have unlimited range, high speed, right? It will be nuclear capable and also nuclear powered. And it's going to be absolutely unique missile system, because no one in this world has anything similar to that. In different times in the past, there was different, many ideas worldwide, by the way, in US, in Soviet Union, maybe in some other places, to create not just nuclear powered missiles, but even nuclear powered planes, right? But nobody went beyond some technical works, right? But Russia did, and according to some reports on, yet again, in open sources, maybe state testing of this weapon system is either complete already or soon to be completed, which means that there is quite a number of tests have been conducted, and they were successful, right? Only there is very stricter procedure, isn't it, to adapt the weapon system. It takes quite a long time. But if now media is openly talking about this weapon system to be sort of a game changer, then I guess the Russian side is very close to finalize this testing phase and to begin mass production of this weapon system. I don't know how much deterrent this weapon gonna be, because we have seen some absolute craziness on part of Western so-called elites. Not that far ago, they targeted Russian nuclear triad, by the way. I mean, there is not really much left, right, when it comes to madness of the Western elites. They targeted the untouchable segment of the Russian military component, which is a nuclear triad. This was done by US and UK, first of all, obviously, and they used their proxy regime as a scapegoat, as an opportunity to then speculate with this plausible deniability point, right? But yes, I mean, who knows? Maybe Burevestnik will play a role as deterrent. No one knows. And anyways, let me continue, dear friends. With some other news, in today's second update during the previous live stream, basically, I did share quite a number of news on the Middle East. U.S. president traveled to Israel today. He went to Israeli Knesset, made quite a number of statements. One of the members of our community described his speech as a some crazy stuff, right? And I agree completely on that. I have only seen some fragments. I had no time to watch entire his speech or to listen to his entire speech. Later on, after that live stream, I read some more, and I have to, reiterate that yes, he was acting crazy. By the way, he was acting crazy. But anyways, after his presence in Israeli Knesset, he went to Egypt, right? He went to Egypt, and leaders of United States, Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey signed a peace deal on Gaza, which is yet again some sort of a freak show, in my personal opinion, because what this paper even means. I mean, can anyone explain to me what they sign up for? What these 4 countries sign up for? And there were representatives of many more countries, by the way, about 20 countries get together in Egypt, right? There was no Hamas representatives, there was no Israeli representatives, right? They didn't sign up for nothing. They just formally said that, well, we agree on Trump's some 20-point plan. That's it. They didn't sign up for nothing, right? So yes, there was some freak show, by the way. These leaders signed up for some papers. They made the statements. It was a media operation, as I said from the beginning, right? And Trump is already on his way to U.S., I guess, at this point. And what is interesting, I think more interesting, that this freak show, right, in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, was information that a massive explosion was reported in Cairo, by the way, just over an hour ago. Shortly before Trump's arrival at the peace summit, basically, right? And you can see on your screen right now, aftermath of this explosion. Speculations are that there was some blaster on a military, one of the relatively new military facilities. It must be quite a big blast, because you can see, by the way, smoke and all that kind of stuff, right? I don't think this is related to Trump's visit or with visit of these representatives of 20 some countries, but who knows? I mean, no details were released to public at this point. Also, dear friends, as you already know, I reported in my previous updates, Hamas released all their living hostages, and according to reports, Israel released, or planned at least, to release 1,966 Palestinian hostages in return. Also, Israeli side already blamed, by the way, Hamas of breaking their agreement, because after releasing living hostages, next stage supposed to be transfer of bodies of deceased hostages, and Hamas transferred 4 bodies according to reports, and Israeli side was accusing Hamas that this was breaking the agreement. Let's see how the situation developed in this regard. But well, Israel is already accusing, by the way. Israel seems like already escalating with Hamas, right? When Trump was participating in this freak show, Trump and some other representatives of countries, 20 countries, Israel was already escalating. And you know what? Trump whole day today was talking about that war is over. This is peace, and this is, no more fighting and no more this and that. And he was not even for a second genuine or honest, right? He knows perfectly well that shortly from now, Israeli secret services, with assistance of obviously U.S. secret services, British secret services, will come up, will orchestrate false flag operation, and they will use it as justification to reignite their conflict. And that's why I'm saying what these people were signing in Sharm el Sheikh. What Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey sign up for together with the US? Why they even participated in this masquerade? I don't know. I don't know. Entire world is turning to some freaking circus, isn't it? Bloody circus, which is tragic. And also, by the way, Trump, I mean, he has no dignity, isn't it? Trump has no decency, dignity, nothing like that, right? And during his speech in the Knesset, he addressed the Israeli president and basically either ask or even demand. I don't think he's in the position to demand from the Israeli president anything, but after all, he's a servant, right, of Israel. It's not other way around. But he kind of publicly, asked the Israeli president to pardon Benjamin Netanyahu. And he kind of mocked allegations against Benjamin Netanyahu, champagne and some cigars, and as if corruption is nothing, right? And for Trump, corruption is nothing because I'm quite sure Trump and his family, by the way, probably are most corrupt elements that ever were close to White House. 100%, and no doubts about that. These are most dodgy people ever, right? Biden was corrupt. Of course, he was corrupt, by the way. Clintons were corrupt, right? Obama's, by the way, I'm 100% corrupt, convinced Obama and his clan is also heavily engaged in corruption. But Trump and his clan, I mean, they are on a whole new level, isn't it? Just recently, there was reports that Jared Kushner, son-in-law of Trump, gonna be on the board of TikTok once, TikTok USA, right? American branch of the TikTok. Why? What Jared Kushner knows about IT technologies or social platforms? Does he knows anything at all about it? But he's a son in the law of Trump, right? Nothing to be said about all these rumors on cryptocurrencies and on all the rumors that Trump has his team are playing hard on stock markets, right? Before Trump comes up with some crazy statement that they know will influence big time stock markets, some dodgy dealings are happening there, right? For tens of millions of dollars, by the way, right? And that's exactly what happened. Literally, like half an hour before Trump announced 100% tariffs on China just a few days ago. There was some dodgy dealings on the stock market. So these are most corrupt people that ever get close to White House, I think, and therefore no wonder that Trump was probably actually honest when he said that, no big deal, man. What cigars, what champagne, what corruption? Just forget about it. Pardon him. As if criminal activity of the official is nothing and corruption is nothing. Insane, by the way. This is clearly, such a blow for U.S. reputation. If there is anything left from U.S. reputation in this world, I don't know. And probably very few in Trump's administration are realizing this, isn't it? That they are damaging hard, man, U.S. very hard. Also, when it comes to all these talks about peace in Gaza and Palestine, that I don't believe in, because without demilitarization and denazification of Israel, there can be no peace, not just in Palestine, but in the Middle East in general. I'm 110% convinced in that, million%, by the way, convinced in that. I guess Dmitry Medvedev cannot use this terminology, right? He cannot be this direct as I am, right? And he is using different language, but basically he's also saying that if you want to have a peace, you have to actually do something about it, right? Just statements and some papers being signed is not enough. and he commented basically on this today's developments in Israel, in Egypt. And let me read for you what he said. So, releasing Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Why they are saying Palestinian prisoners? They are hostages too, man. Right? Israel has no legal right to hold without due process Palestinians. They are hostages too. Why this double standard that, well, Israelis are hostages, but Palestinians somehow are not hostages in hands of Israel? Why? Anyways, releasing Israel hostages and Palestinian prisoners is a good thing, of course, but it won't solve anything until a full-fledged Palestinian state is established in line with their well-known UN resolution. Nothing will change. The war will continue. Everyone understands this. Dmitry Medvedev said, and yet again, he is official, former president of Russian Federation, current high-ranking official, and obviously he cannot use language that I can use, right? Because I'm just a citizen journalist, right? But I think he will agree with me and everyone else, by the way, that until Israel, these fascist entities are demilitarized and denazified, there can be no sustainable peace in the Middle East, period. There is no buts there and nothing to discuss, right? Israel needs to be demilitarized and denazified. It's just an ultimate task for humanity at this point, if we actually are serious about achieving peace in the Middle East. To continue, dear friends, a few more news, and that's about it for this new segment. In case you are thinking now that I missed on some news, dear friends, most likely I did not. But as I said, this is my third news update today, right? I have the first update on my Patreon and Boosty pages this morning. Then second update was a live stream some 5 hours ago. I started it longer than that. I started at 3 p.m. And this is a third update. And of course, I cannot repeat literally every news, right, that I had in previous updates. So if you have a time and if you think I missed on some news, please check out previous updates. Probably I did not. But anyways, let's continue, dear friends. Trump also spoke today about Iran, and well, somehow he went to justify his illegal strikes on Iran, saying that without those strikes on Iran, this agreement between Israel and Hamas could not be possible, which is total nonsense, by the way. Absolutely unrelated stuff, isn't it, Ender? Because this is not the first time Trump is trying to justify attacks on Iran. I think this topic is bothering him, right? Because this was not just illegal from international law standpoint, but this was illegal action from U.S. Constitution standpoint too. He did not have the right to authorize such strikes, right? And I don't know what is going on inside the White House, inside his administration, but he is just too active in these attempts to justify attacks on Iran. And this must mean something. I don't know what is going on there, but this is strange. This is, something is there for sure, right? Those attacks on Iran are unjustifiable, absolutely, right? If you are looking for allies of Hamas, first of all, well, take a look at the Israeli regime, by the way. Hamas gained force, become a main force in the Gaza Strip as a result of Israeli assistance. And this is a kind of open secret, right? Israel was assisting Hamas to fight Fatah, right? Forces of this Palestinian administration. And then, if that is not enough, take a look at the Qatar, for example. Take a look at Turkey, for example, right? Turkey and Qatar, by the way, are big friends with the Muslim Brotherhood. Am I correct? And Hamas is affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood also. And this is one of the reasons why Egypt, by the way, hates Hamas. Egyptian elites, because they have issues with their Muslim Brotherhood movement. Saudis also have some issues, some serious issues with their Muslim Brotherhood. UAE. So it's quite a complex stuff. But if before someone will link Iran with Hamas, I mean, there are so many actors in between, right? First of all, Israel itself, then Qatar, Turkey, right? And somewhere among last, you can say that yes, Iran is supporting not Hamas especially. Iran is supporting resistance movement, and that's a whole different stuff, by the way. No other countries in the region does what Iran does, assisting resistance movement. Anyways, I said from the beginning, by the way, all this Trump's 20-point agreement is a deception operation, in my personal opinion. And I think while focus of the public is shifted now towards this topic, well, US, Israel, and some other actors, their allies basically, might actually gear up, accelerate gearing up for attack on Iran, because the ultimate goal of globalists, neocons, and their Zionist allies in regards to Middle East is to provoke regional war, and that's what they're gonna try, for sure. Meanwhile, dear friends, Madagascar's president left the country on a military plane, according to media reports. He basically ran away after coup d'etat. So Madagascar President Andry Rajoelina left the country on a French military plane. RFI reports, citing informed sources. Media outlets had previously reported that Rajoelina had left Antananarivo, capital of Madagascar, due to the protests. At the time, the president's office dismissed their information as rumors. However, this morning, the Ministry of Public Security announced that the president's whereabouts were unknown. So maybe a coup d'etat in Madagascar is either complete, or we are about to see civil war in this country, because I reported yesterday that certain military groups take a side of protesters, right? And they declare themselves to be commanders of their whole military, Air Force, Navy, ground forces, all of it, right? And they call other security services to join them. And if they did not, then in that case, when you have a number of groups that are, armed to the teeth and have some, ambitions, or led by people that have some ambitions, usually this did not end well, right? Usually it's a precursor to a civil war. So unfortunately, Madagascar might be on the edge of disastrous path. RT, meanwhile, is reporting that India and Canada agreed to revive ties damaged under their Trudeau, previous prime minister. So India and Canada have agreed to revive ties that came under severe strain during their tenure of former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. On Monday, the two countries said they had reached a consensus on a new roadmap for bilateral relations after talks between their foreign ministers in New Delhi. During their discussions, Indian Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar and his Canadian counterpart Anita Anand said they were committed to rebuilding trust and strengthening bilateral relations across the multiple sectors, which is good if true, by the way, India did not seek escalation with Canada. It was Trudeau's regime, right, that escalated with New Delhi. And well, if now, because both countries are under pressure of US, if Ottawa and New Delhi will find a common ground, that will be good for both, I guess, beneficial for both countries, both people of their both states. And for everybody, basically. Whenever any two countries get together, well enough, it's a good stuff, right? So I guess this is it, dear friends, for now, for a new segment, and hopefully you did find it informative and interesting. And if so, please like the video, leave some commentary. This might help to deal with the algorithm. And there was no super chat during the news segment, or any questions from either Boosty or PayPal. So therefore, I will join community chat straight away. And in case you want to support, dear friends, my work, links to my PayPal, Boosty, Patreon page, Boosty page, everything is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And also, as long as I am online, you can use super chat feature on Rumble to donate and highlight any question or topic, or we can become premium subscriber on Rumble. And so let me scroll through chatter. And dear friends, from tomorrow, I forget to mention this in the beginning. From tomorrow, probably I would not be able to go through chatter as I always do. Probably we will have a big community chat on Sundays, as it is always the case. Otherwise, these videos are just too long. I'm always saying that I will join community chat now for a little while, 5-10 minutes, but it's never 5-10 minutes. It's either half an hour or 45 minutes, and the overall video is just too long. And you can imagine if even a member of our community comes across of this video and sees like it's 2.5 hours, well, probably there is a high chances that that person will skip this video. So in order to keep these updates short and as informative as I can, from tomorrow I will, during the weekdays, I will react on questions that I might receive from a super chat on Rumble or through PayPal or Boosty or Patreon, right? And on Sunday we will have a big community chat, as it was case for and as it is case for quite a long time now. But today, today it's like in the past. I will scroll through chatter and react on some questions. I see Nikos is asking. It just came out that Boris Johnson was paid. Let me highlight the question, by the way. It's two-part question, right? Right. So it just came out that Boris Johnson was paid by Ukrainian contractors to sabotage the deal in 2022. One of his friends is Alexander Lebedev, who owns the Novaya Gazeta, and his son, this guy and his paper have been critical of government, and yet he is sanctioned and has had political positions, held the political positions in Russia. As a journalist yourself, can you tell me how involved with the UK he is? You are talking about, I mean, this is a quite interesting story, but I think there is some dodgy elements in this story too, right? It seems to me to be attempt of certain forces to divert responsibility from London, right, from British political class, British elites, to some small groups of interests, right? Which is, I mean, we cannot allow this to happen. Obviously, Boris Johnson was acting on behalf of globalists. He was acting not on behalf of any donor or anything, right? And well, the report that Nikos is talking about, dear friends, is that British industrial magnate, mogul is a word, isn't it? Who is involved in drone production. I can give you his name, dear friends. His name is Christopher Herborn, if I'm pronouncing correctly, Christopher Herborn, right? So this person allegedly paid Boris Johnson million pounds, right, to travel to Ukraine together with him in 2022 right at the time when this Istanbul agreements, Istanbul talks were taking place, right? And when a preliminary agreement was even reached between Moscow and Kiev regime, and allegedly this British individual who is involved in drone production influenced Boris Johnson to, derail basically, peace talks. Boris Johnson, under the influence of this Christopher, what is his freaking name, man? Christopher Harborn, allegedly forced Kiev regime to say no to agreement with Moscow. But yet again, I don't believe this is a whole truth, right? I don't believe this is a whole truth, sir. Boris Johnson was obviously acting on behalf of globalists, right? And when we are saying globalists, what is the main leading force in globalist movement? It's a British aristocracy, by the way, right? It's a British aristocracy, a British royal family, British aristocracy, and the main driving force in globalist movement is European aristocracies in general, and there are some financial clans that were serving these aristocracies for centuries, from Rothschilds to, I don't know, you continue, right? And so this is some sort of a trick. This is a trickery, clearly, right? That there is attempt to divert their attention or focus from negative influence of globalists and British elites, political class, towards some individuals, which is, I don't think right way to go. But anyways, yes, there was such a report, British media reported about it, that this person paid money to Boris Johnson, this Christopher Harborn. And you are saying now, Nikos, that this Alexander Lebedev is a close friend with Christopher Harborn, I guess, right? If I understand your question correctly. And I don't know if this is true or not. Alexander Lebedev himself is, I don't think he is still owner of the Nowe Gazeta. He used to have a share, right, in Nowe Gazeta, but he left it, if I'm correct, right? Maybe not. Maybe there is some connection still there. Also, son of Alexander Lebedev in 2020 received from British Queen status of a lord, according to reports, by the way, right? That son of this Lebedev in 2020 allegedly received their status of a lord in UK, right? So there is a connection, clearly. There is a connection, right? That Lebedev clan, let's say, has with the UK. But this is not something unique. This is not something unique, Nikos. Quite a lot of rich and ultra-rich citizens of Russia have connections, unfortunately, with Western countries, mainly UK, right? And I can assume that most of them are being recruited by MI6, right? All of them, I think, are traitors. All of them, literally, right? All these Russian oligarchs, rich and ultra-rich, that run away from Russia under whatever pretext and end up in the West, especially in UK, by the way. All of them, in my personal opinion, are traitors and assets of British Secret Services, right? That's my personal opinion. I can have my opinion, right? And those elements actively being used against Russia, because if you want to infiltrate any country, what is the easiest way to do it? You're going to recruit people, corrupt elements inside that country, right? Because they know how to navigate there. So British Secret Services, they are not stupid, right? They are looking for these compromised elements inside the Russia. They are connecting to these elements, and they have million tricks, I guess, how to set them up and then forced to work for their cause, whatever that cause is, and it's nothing good, obviously, right? That's my take on that whole story. And so yes, is there anything to add? If they will refuse, by the way, to work for Western, if these compromised elements will refuse to work for Western secret services, or in this particular case British secret services, because we are talking about UK, then something will happen to them. And there was already quite a number of cases of that, isn't it? Remember Berezovsky, Russian oligarch that ran away from Russia into UK. He was pretending to be some political figure, although he was never a political figure or respected figure in Russian public. He was influential, yes, because of his ties with the Yeltsin's daughter, right? With the Yeltsin's clan. But he was never respected here in Russia by public in large, right? But he ended up in the West. He was recruited by British secret services, obviously, right? And at some point, he became either useless for MI6 or almost useless, right? And at that point, I remember there was even a letter published from Berezovsky on internet, by the way, letter that he wrote to Putin, and he was asking for forgiveness. And shortly after, he was killed. He died in strange circumstances. He had a heart attack or something, right? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that later come up after his death or before his death. I think before his death, but it was quite a number of years ago, so I don't really remember that clearly. But nevertheless, there was a letter from him in which he was kind of asking for forgiveness to Russian president, for pardon, I guess, right? And also he was thinking to come back to Russia. And of course, British secret services find out about it, right? And they organize heart attack for him. And he was not alone. There was another, for example, oligarch who made money, wealth in Russia, Patarkatsishvili, by the way, right? Badri Patarkatsishvili, who from Russia went to Georgia, by the way, right? And began political career against Saakashvili's regime, right? And we know Saakashvili's regime was a client of, CIA, right? It was set up by Western secret services and was led by US. And Patarkatsishvili was a billionaire. He invested hard, right? He invested in the media, invested in a political party. He was gaining momentum, his movement. And suddenly he died. In UK, also with a heart attack. How convenient. So I guess he was also recruited by, and he was affiliated with Berezovsky, by the way, right? Probably he was also recruited by British secret services. And at some point, Americans probably demanded from Brits to take care of him, right? Because he was an obstacle in American project in Georgia that Saakashvili's regime was, right? And British secret services organized for Patarkatsishvili some little heart attack. So that's what is going on, by the way. So those people that are in UK, based in UK or in the Western world, right, and are claiming that they are some public figures in Russia, they have some massive support of Russians, and they are this and that. All of them are nobodies, man, freaking nobodies. They have no public support, generally speaking, here in Russia, right? With the exception of their family members, probably no one even knows about majority of them, right? And they are assets of their Western secret services. All of them. literally all of them, by the way. And if they will try, if they even think about playing some alternative games other than what they've been ordered, well, they're gonna find out, isn't it? As Pater Katsishvili did and Berezovsky did. Western secret services are quite effective in organizing all sorts of situations, like heart attacks, like um, you know, suicides and so on. Right? They are professionals in that. That's my answer. I don't know if my answer was good enough or not, but that's my answer, Nikos. I see a question from Viper. According to legend, the land of Jesus is between Tartarian and the US, between Bering Strait. They say is a 3 hour distortion in the time zone. Viper, sorry, but I lost you. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Uh, yes, maybe. I mean, I don't really understand what you are talking about, so therefore I would not go into debate here. This is not a question. This is opinion, right, of yours. Okay, I just see a question there up front, and I reacted on it. Um, According to legend, the land of Jesus is between Tartarian, Russia, and the US, between Bering Strait. They say is a 3 hour distortion in the time zone. When it comes to Alaska, by the way, and Russia's Kamchatka, for example, yes, there is a time difference, isn't it? On Bering Strait, there is two islands. Big Diamond Island there belongs to Russia; it's a Russian territory, and Small Diamond Island is American territory, right? The distance between those islands are like 3 miles or something. You can see from one island to another one, right? There is a settlement on American island, a small, tiny settlement there, like 100 people or something. And there is a military base based on Russian island, right? I don't think there is settlement there, but the military is definitely will be present, right? And the difference in these two islands maybe 3 hours. I cannot recall exactly now, right? But could be. So I'm scrolling now, dear friends. If I see any question directed to me, I will react on it. Oh, really? Viper is also asking, did you know J.D. Vance changed his name 3 times to hide his Jewish heritage? I don't. And why would he hide the Jewish heritage, by the way? I mean, there's, why would anybody will hide any heritage? I mean, everyone should be proud of their ancestors, right? I did not know it. I just don't know. But if he actually did it, well, shame on him, by the way, because what the hell, man, right? It's crazy, but I never heard about it. And I'm not really interested really who is who has what religion and what ethnicity and that kind of stuff. From historical perspective, it is interesting maybe for a cultural discussion. But when it comes to politics, I mean, politics should stay separate, and religion and ethnicity separate, because it's never a good mix, by the way. Never a good mix. It's an explosive stuff there. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, they created so-called independent media network whose donors are anonymous and give monthly based subscriptions to people to make it look authentic, a Muslim Brotherhood doing some something now. Uh, or maybe in this, I'm not really, you know, I'm definitely not an expert in all these nuances of Middle Eastern, all movements and stuff. My understanding is quite general, really. So yes, well, very well might be the case. All I know when it comes to this Muslim Brotherhood, I mean, this movement is allegedly is I mean, Turkey is sympathizing to this movement, current regime, by the way, in Turkey. Right. Also, Qatar is sympathizing to it. Hamas is obviously, some Algeria, I believe, also. I mean, there are certain countries, right? And there is also another movement inside the Muslim movements, right? Wahhabi movement, or Salafites, right? And this is coming from Saudi Arabia, and they are competing with each other, right, or something like that. I'm not a theologist, by the way. I don't really know much about it, but they kind of competing with each other, and this is one of the reasons why, for example, allegedly, Saudis and Qataris are not really friendly to each other. Although there might be some other reasons too, obviously, right? But yet again, when it comes to very nuanced discussion about these groups and that groups, it's better if someone who studied Middle East for decades to share their opinion, right? Because I never pretended to be expert in the Middle East, by the way. I mean, Michael Kennedy is commenting F-35 is a stolen Soviet design, and it's some. I mean, I will call F-35 US fifth gen fighter jet grandkid of Russian MiG 141, because very many engineering decisions that are adopted in F-35 is definitely were taken from Yak 141, and we know that because American engineers were in Russia, by the way, in 90s, right, after Soviet Union collapse, and they actually study Yak 141. Maybe they even brought a couple of them, and they only were built like few. So obviously now F-35 has some advanced features, but how many years has passed since then, right? But at the time, Yak 141 was a revolutionary plane for sure in many ways. It was not stealthy though, but nevertheless, some revolutionary engineering decisions were adopted in that plane, for sure. especially when it comes to vertical takeoff and the landing, or short takeoff and the landing. Oh, interesting question from Nidish Kumar. Levan, what's going on in Libya? Seems like China is funding both sides of the war. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Nidish, I have to look at this. I have not seen any news on some relevant major topic in regards to Libya for quite a while in Russian media or Russian segment of internet. So I'll take a look at it. Maybe, maybe God knows what Chinese think tanks and intelligence services are doing, right, and what their plans are. So maybe, but because I have no details, I don't know. I have no opinion on that. I know Russia has working relationships with the Benghazi government in Libya. That I know. And so, dear friends, I guess this is it. I guess this is it for now. Really, I mean, Levan, our entire Gandhi family is a fake Gandhis, top to bottom. You mean from Mahatma Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, all Gandhis? What you are saying? I don't know. I mean, so much stuff I don't know, and I'm I'm not afraid to say it. By the way, when I don't know something, I just don't know, and that's it. I'm not gonna pretend there are otherwise. But I mean, what fake Gandhi even means, Nidish? I just don't know. That's quite interesting. Nidish is also commenting, Levan, we have a Marxist militant Kurdish movement as well. Where? In India? Marxist militant Kurdish movement. Don't tell me that Kurdish movements are demanding some independence in some parts of India, by the way. I have never heard anything about it, really. I know there is some divisions inside India on religious lines, on ethnic lines. Even there is some nuances, obviously, right? But I have never heard about Kurdish militant movement in uh, in India. That's for sure. And well, Zarael is here, dear friends. Hello, Zarael. Good to see you in our chat. Zarael is, of course, dear friends, moderator on Duran, leading leading media, by the way, leading channel or the media project in alternative media. We all know Duran, so there is no need to introduce. Obviously, we all know Alex Christoforou and Alexander Mercouris. Nice to see you, Zarael. And dear friends, I don't know what you are saying in this, except Mahatma Gandhi. Everyone else are fake. I don't know. I don't know what you mean. Nidisha, my knowledge of India is quite limited. So you know, Indira Gandhi I believe, very respected in India, isn't it? She was basically one that broke deals with Soviet Union, and the industrialization of India began, very rapidly. Let's say I think it was in Indira Gandhi who broke most of the deals with the Soviet Union, and since then relationships were better and better and better. Correct me if I'm wrong, but okay. Nidish Kumar is saying that they don't belong to his family line. Okay, I did not know it. I was thinking that all Gandhis were descendants of Mahatma Gandhi. Uh, you know. Aziz, thank you for your comment. Levan now thinks Gandhi is a Marxist militia in the Middle East. No, no, I understand now what Nidish is talking about. And he was, in regards to Kurdish militant groups, he was talking about Middle East, of course, not in India. That's I lost their connection there between their comments of Nidish, and that's why. Oh, okay. Nidish is commenting, Levan, they all belong to Nehru family. They just use their Gandhi name. Okay. I did not knew that. And Sandra Savia is commenting, why is Rumble not working? I'm unable to send the super chat. I don't know. I don't know, Sandra. Maybe there is some technical issues. Yesterday I was struggling to connect StreamYard to Rumble, so maybe Rumble is experiencing some technical issues, or sometimes it does happens. I guess this is the reason. Also, Danny DeWall is commenting, Luan, why does Mark Newton never ever had a non-girlfriend or wife? He is gay, isn't it? Isn't it? On number of Telegram channels, he's been described as a, in a let's say humorous manner or something like that, or as a gay. Probably that's the answer. Although I don't know, I don't even care, man. I mean, it's his business. If he identifies himself as a he or something, right? in the West, things are quite complicated, by the way. But yes, maybe he has some LGBTQ element, and I mean, it's his business, by the way. You know. And this is commenting, Levan, I want to listen about reverse wing Soviet fighter design more someday. You are talking about her Su-47 Berkut, isn't it? It was an experimental plane, unique design for sure. unique designer, extremely maneuverable plane, but it was the 90s, isn't it? It was 90s, and Russia just did not have their funds to invest in the project. But some technologies were tested on Su-47, and those technologies eventually were adapted to Su-35, right? Su-30, Su-35 families. So this Su-47 with the reversed wings did actually play a positive role in Sukhoi family. So, but it looks badass, isn't it? Su-47. Even now, by the way, how many years has passed since then, isn't it? Martin Maher is commenting, Levan, new name for Stammer is Sir Lost Files. I guess you are referring when he was picking up papers for Trump or for someone, isn't it? I have seen like months or 2 months ago, something like that. Maybe he ended up in some confusion again, and that's what you mean. I don't know. So that's it, dear friends. I guess for today. Thank you all. Thank you all for your time, for your attention. Have a wonderful day, dear friends. Or day, morning, evening, night, or whatever time is in your part of this world. And see you tomorrow. Bye for now.